Okay, explore dungeon. Find traps. Solve puzzle. Defeat monster. Collect treasure. Hello, everyone. I'm Father Aaron, and welcome to the Dungeon Minister. So, our heroes have just defeated the Wraith. In fact, they have just defeated the Wraith because we pick this session up right where the last one left off. You'll remember they had defeated the Wraith and really paid the price. Both Fleetwood and Touchberry were dropped a level. They were level drained. And both of them, from earlier combat with the Wraith, from losing a level of hit points, from the Wraith, both of them were in sorry, sorry shape. Touchberry at 8 hit points, Fleetwood at 2. Bob Johnny was in the low 20s, Fofire in the mid 20s, nobody doing spectacularly well, but they did defeat the Wraith, and now you expect them to reap the rewards. Go and find out what that mysterious gem, orb thing floating in the Ostensorium might be. Explore the room, see if there's treasure, see if there are any secret doors which lead to more treasure. All of these are possibilities, and they do none of them because they are afraid that the Wraith is going to regenerate somehow. Why am I pointing over there? When it was destroyed, it just sort of it's not over there. There's no Wraith over there. There really is no Wraith over there, guys. Don't worry, it's not going to regenerate. Guys, come back. Somehow they get it into their head that I'm out to kill them. Despite a lack of any evidence, they think I am trying to do a TPK here. I can see where there's some nervousness. I mean, Fleetwood is down to 2 hit points. That's yikes. And even Touchberry at 8, depending on the monster they're fighting, 1 hit could take him out. So, yeah, I get that they're a bit nervous, but they decide to retreat from this room. They want to leave this room entirely. They are so sure this Wraith is going to regenerate somehow. I don't know where they got the idea, but okay. So they retreat out of there, back through the hallway to the puzzle room with all of the tiles, some of which fall down a la Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, right? At any rate, they get back to that room and they go across. They know the safe tiles. They go across back to the area where there's no tiles, no trap, at the far end of the room, and that's where they spend the night. It's not even nighttime, but they're really, really, really beat up. So I say, okay, that's reasonable. You want to do that. You don't want to do it in the room where the Wraith was. Okay, fine. So they spend a night there. I have them roll for hit points. Essentially, for my game, a night's sleep does the same thing as a healing potion, a potion of healing, or the Cure Light Wounds spell. All right, those magical cures give the equivalent of a good night's rest. So that's what they do get, and they do rather well with their rolls, actually. Fleetwood ends up at a 15. Now, that's also with Touchberry's sword, because the next morning he can use it again. He had used it the day previous, so he can use the sword again on Fleetwood. Fleetwood ends up at 15. So does Touchberry. Both Fofire and Bob Johnny go up. I think Fofire ends up with the most hit points at 31. I think she's the highest. So they're not, quite dead. And I expected them to then decide where to go. Should they go back through the Wraith room or check out that door on the other side? They had walked in the letters that spelled out Heremod, and it led them to the Wraith. But as they went, they saw across the way some of the other passages out of this room appear to be dummies. They go a little bit, and then there's nothing, right? They're just there to make people try to reach them. But one of them had a door in it, and it may be a dummy door, but they don't know. They went the other way. So I thought, well, they're going to decide between the Wraith room or that other door. What will they do? They're seriously talking about just leaving the dungeon, going all the way back through the pass, out, and going south around the mountains, just avoiding them altogether. Whoa, okay. So you've defeated the monster, and you're not going to go check for treasure. Wow. Okay, that's, for a group that really does like its treasure, that's wow. Okay. Which is unfortunate because I've got some stuff in there that they could really use. They didn't even look around. They didn't even find the skeleton, not an animated skeleton, a skeleton who was wearing a ring that would come in handy later. Okay. All right. So they really get into a conversation about leaving, and that looks like the plan because they're afraid, they don't want to get beat up, and they still think the Wraith is going to regenerate and come for them. When finally, Fofire puts in, guys, aren't we here for adventure? Isn't adventure what we're after, and danger and things like that? Isn't that what we're doing here? And I can't tell if she's in character talking to the two elves and the halfling, or if she's Mama talking to the boys, but either way it works, and they decide, all right, well, what do we do? And Fofire says, I could check the other, tiles for traps and see if there's a way over to that door, and we could check it out. So first, Fleetwood says, oh, no. It's going to be a mimic. I know, Papa, it's going to be a mimic. Mimic? I'm not trying to kill them. Anyway, so he goes out to, I think it's the O, where he can see across to that door, and he says, I'm going to throw an arrow. Not shoot, because if it is a mimic, it would stick into the mimic. I'm going to throw an arrow at that door. Okay. Why? Because he thinks, if it's a mimic, the arrow will stick to the door, it'll, writhe, it'll do something, it'll react. So he goes out and chucks an arrow, and I have him roll a 1d20. I said, you need a 10 or better to hit the door, because throwing an arrow is not like shooting it. It takes some, and it's across the room, and but he rolls like a 17 or 18 or something and easily hits it. All right. So you hear a sort of hollow wooden thunk as the arrowhead hits the door, but obviously it doesn't have enough force to stick through it. It hits the door and then falls out and clatters on the floor. That's all. Huh. Fofire gets to work looking for the panels on the floor, the tiles that are trapped and or safe. She starts from the M for whatever reason, and she discovers that the N is also safe. She discovers that the O, she already knew the O was safe, and she thinks and there's an L that is safe. She's wrong, incidentally, but she also finds that the other letter, I think it was a P or something, that it is trapped. She can definitely find the trap there. There's also a trap on the L. She didn't find it. She thinks it's safe. So I lay out that I had gotten rid of the little scraps of paper we'd used the first time to mark where things were, so I had to get new ones, but fine. And here I'm marking the things, and I said, I'll only put out the ones that you think are safe. And if you think it's safe, it has an underline. If you know it's safe, then it's just clean, Okay, that's what we've got. So there it is. Now, they decide to go to the O and test from there. All right. Well, from there, she looks and she finds, obviously, the D they already know is safe because Haramod, they've walked it already. She also finds the C that is safe. The others are all trapped. Okay, the C looks safe. They don't know. So they do the whole routine again with a rope, and this time Fofire says, I will do it. So she ties a rope around her, and everyone else is going to hold. Actually, Bob Johnny had also volunteered, but I said, he's got all that armor on. He's going to be really heavy if he falls. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so they have Fofire do it. She steps onto the sea. Nothing happens. It's safe. Okay, let's look around. What are the other letters? And they look at the other letters. I forget what the other ones were, but a letter that heads toward that door that would get them, able to cross to the door is K. O-C-K, Ock. N-O-C-K, knock. Wait a minute. And Bob Johnny goes back and he checks, and yes. You remember, maybe you don't, when they first came to this trap, there was H-O-C-M, and they thought C was safe, but Touchberry fell through. They knew O was trapped, And then H was safe. That's where Heremod began. But they also thought the M was safe. Well, they were right. They were right. So Bob Johnny goes back and he sees, between all of the letters that they have, what is there. Because they know the R is safe in Heremod. He goes back and he looks, and there's a letter that would get you from the M to the R. And what is it? It's an A. Marnock. The two names, entwined in history, their lives wrapped together by the events of history, are entwined on this floor and actually share two of the letters. The R and the O are both shared. And so the names kind of cross each other a couple of times as they lead to their destinies. Heremod, to death, the undead. Marnock, to a door. And as it happens with my group, to more paranoia. Okay, the door, it's going to be trapped. It's going to be trapped and gas is going to fill the room and kill us, or it's a mimic, or, we'll go through it and there'll be a monster that'll kill us, and okay. And I'm thinking like, wow, I wish I had thought of half of these things because it's fabulous. But no, it's a door. It's a door. So they go to the door and it is locked. At first they have Faux Fire check for traps. She doesn't find any. It was a successful roll, incidentally. Of course, I'm making that roll because the Dungeon Master makes those rolls. I make the roll, and she rolls like a 40-something. She needs 55 or under to find a trap, but there's no trap to find. So no, you don't find any traps. But it is locked. You can see that it's locked. Okay. Now, should she unlock it? No, if she unlocks it, there is a trap. She missed it. She probably missed the trap, and if she tries to unlock it, the trap will be sprung, we'll all be dead, blah, blah, blah. Let's go back and through the pass and around south. Oi! So finally, Faux Fire says, I'm going to pick the lock, guys. You can do what you want, because she just wants to press on with this, right? Quit it. So they all go back on to the tiles that they know are safe. Right, on the stones they know are safe. So she picks the lock, but Touchberry has said, but I should open the door. I'll open the door. Why him? He's at 15 hit points. Bob Johnny's in much better shape. I don't know why. So Touchberry comes up. He's going to walk in. He says, no, I'll go in. Opens the door. Nothing happens. It's just a door. There's a passageway beyond. Now they're going to go down the passageway, and they have Faux Fire in the lead, checking for traps every 10 feet, which is not a bad idea anyway, but boy, does it slow them down. And of course, I'm doing the checks every 10 feet. Some of them she makes, some of them she doesn't, but there are no traps in this section. But they keep talking about it, and I think, well, they're being cautious. It's a good thing to check for traps, so I'll reward them. And one of the squares, there's going to be a trap. And it so happens that she makes the check for that square. The passage goes down a ways and turns to the left. And just after the turn to the left, she finds something. Yeah, there's a trap here, guys. It's a pit trap. And it covers the entire width of the corridor. And it looks like it's 10 feet across. 10 feet is not jumpable. They're not jumping that, right? Faux Fire could use climb walls and probably, skitter along the sidewall. Scooter. She could probably scutter along the side walls. Scutter? Really? Anyway, she could probably get across. But that's her. Then what? And so they examine the trap. She says it looks to be spring-loaded, so these tiles will fall down but then pop back up. Oh, nice, says Fleetwood. That way, once you're down there, you can't get back. And the trap is reset for the next chump coming along. All right, well, what are we going to do? We can't get across a 10-foot pit. We can't jump that. Again, talk about going back and around. All right. And then Bob Johnny says, well, I could shoot web. Web is 10 by 10. I said, yeah, and if it's a 10 by 10 cube, if you cast it on the ground, it'll go a little further than 10 feet. It's not going to, it won't just fill the cube. You can cast it to lay flat. I kind of allow massaging of these things. If you cast it at the floor, you can make it cover the gap, right? So yeah, we'll do that, and then we can cross on the web. Yeah, but we're going to get stuck to the web, Bob Johnny, his brothers say. We'll get stuck to the web. That's not going to do it. And then we'll be stuck there and either have to tear our way out and maybe fall, or eventually the magic will wear off and we'll fall. The web will disappear. All right. Again, talk about going back when suddenly Fleetwood says, "That door. How secure is that door on its hinges?" Now, I had no idea how they were going to get over this trap. Remember, I didn't plan it. I didn't have this pre-planned. But I thought that was pretty good. So, well, yeah, the door, the doors, you could work it off. You could probably get it off the hinges if you tried. Well, will that span the gap? No, it's only about 6 feet. It's only about 6 foot tall door, right? You had to kind of crouch as you went through it. Bob Johnny at least had to kind of crouch as he went through it. Hang on. If Bob Johnny does the web, we lay the door on top of the web, then we can jump onto the door and from the door back off, because then there'll be a couple feet on each side. We can manage that. Yes. Yes, you can. I thought that was pretty cool. So that's what they do. They go to take the door off the hinges. Bob Johnny casts web across where the trap is, and they throw the door down. And now they just have to hope that there isn't another trap just past the first one. There isn't. I hadn't even planned for one. But anyway, they jump onto the door, cross over, and jump off. And I say it only seems a little dicey when Bob Johnny, the last one, steps onto it with all that armor and all that weight. There's a bit of a creak and a groan from the webs, but they're going to hold because they can hold an ogre, for at least a turn or two. So, fine. And you get across. Whew, okay. On we go. The passage doesn't go a lot further, past their lamp light, but not a lot further when it ends in what looks like construction, like they were digging, they were trying to continue, but something stopped them. Either they just decided to quit or something. At that spot, though, to the left, there is a crumbling in the wall and spaces are visible. There's actually a large enough gap that a person could crawl through. Oh. What's through there? Well, you shine the lantern in and you see a cave. A natural cave. Oh, okay. Something's gonna get us. Again, the paranoia. I don't know what I did. Anyway, so they have faux fire listen, hear noises, right? And I roll it, and it's a success. You hear a scraping, clicking kind of sound. It's not constant. It happens a little bit and then stops, a little bit and then stops. You seem to recognize it. It sounds insectoid. Oh, giant bugs of some kind, right? I say it's not small. It sounds deep, big. Okay, so it's giant somethings. Great. All right, well, how do we get in here? Something's on the ceiling. I bet there's a giant spider just above that. There's no giant spider there. But they're really sure that I've got something waiting to fall on them. Or green slime. Green slime is going to fall on us. There's nothing's going to fall on you. But anyway, there they are. And they hem and they haw. Finally, they go in. I can't remember who goes first, but in they go. It's a small cave with an exit out to what amounts to the east, I guess. It would be a right-hand turn as they come in this way. There's a small exit. And I say you can see in the light of your lantern, in that exit, on the far end of it, or at least on the end of a little ways in, hanging webs. White, fluttery, long webs. Fluttery. They're not sticking to each other. No, they're not sticking to each other. They're just sort of swaying in it. Okay. So this would be the kind of webbing that a spider uses to build a home, not to catch prey. Whatever you want, sure. More hemming, more hawing. Can we see anything through? Fleetwood says, I want to use my infravision. Shutter the lantern, and I want to look with infravision. I say, you see into the cave beyond. There's no sign of any creature, no warm-blooded anything. The air there seems a bit warmer, and you can see warmer air mixing with the cool of the cave air. There must be an entrance relatively close. This to entice them. Please, don't back out of the dungeon and go all the way back through the pass and around the mountain. I don't want to go through all of that again. I just want to move forward. Anyway, okay, you don't see anything. Oh, I bet there's another monster right above this door. Okay. So finally it comes down, Touchberry says, I'll run through. I'll run through and see what's there. At this point, I also mentioned your oil is starting to run out, right? They'd had a little bit. Fleetwood had his own. Touchberry, of course, tends to throw his at people. You had enough oil for a little while, but it is, with all that work on the door and the traps and everything else, you're about out of oil. So they do switch to torches because they've got a few torches. I think they've got 4 of them. So they switch to torches. All right. So now they've got torches, and Touchberry says, I'll run in, and he has infravision. I'll run in. I don't even need a torch. I'll just run in and see if anything's there. If I'm attacked, if I don't think I can handle it, I'll just run right back. Okay. He runs through the passage. As you run, I say, you can feel the strands, lightly over your face. Make a save versus paralysis. These are the webs of the Shroud spider. Yeah! The Shroud spider's webs are not sticky, but they have a paralyzing substance. The paralyzing substance lasts for a couple of days when the webs are fresh. It's on it, and then a couple of days later it wears off. These spiders renew these webs because they know that little entrance goes someplace. They don't trust the someplace it goes, so they cover it up, right? They actually have a reason to not trust this, a rather recent reason to not trust it, but we won't go there. Halflings, fortunately, have very easy saves. He only needs to get an 8. He easily makes it. Through he gets. I say you feel a tingling and a tightening of your muscles. Everywhere that was touched by those strands begins to tighten and freeze, but then you shake it off. You shake it off, and you're okay again. And then you turn, and you see the cave continues around to the left, and there, 2 massive spiders sit poised in a web that fills the other end of the room. Roll for initiative. The spiders win the initiative, and the largest one scuttles forward to attack, biting at Touchberry and hitting. Roll another save versus poison while I roll up your damage. Ooh, 8 points of damage. And did you make your save? Okay, he makes his save again. You again feel a tightening where the spider's fangs went through your armor. You again feel a tightening of the muscles, but you shake it off, right? Behind that large spider, the other one wants to shoot a web. One of the great things the Shroud spider can do is shoot a string of web at its opponent, but the other spider is kind of in the way. Halflings are small, it can't quite see, so the big one rushes in, bites Touchberry and hits, but the other one can't get its shot in, right? Meanwhile, the others have heard what's happening, and they're lighting their own torch because they want to burn away the webs in the entrance. He has shouted back to them that something happened as he ran through, so they want to try to burn away all of the webs in the entrance. So they're doing that while Touchberry faces these spiders alone. He strikes back, misses. The sword glances off of the hard exoskeleton of the spider, and the battle is engaged. After a couple of rounds missing, in comes Bob Johnny, and he plants himself so that the 2 spiders are roughly lined up, and casts Lightning Bolt. It sears through the first spider, strikes the second, and catches the webs behind it on fire. Roll for damage there, Bob Johnny. 13. That's a pretty low roll. Oh well, okay. The spiders save, and the big spider makes its save, so the big one's only taken 6 points. The one behind takes the full 13. Neither of them are happy with this. The one behind shoots a web at Bob Johnny and hits. Make your save, Bob Johnny, and no. Doesn't make his save. Say, Bob Johnny, the web hits you and you feel a stinging sensation as you try to claw it off. Your body loses the capacity to move, the muscles tighten, and you slump to the floor. Paralyzed. Oh, how long's that going to last? Well, Fleetwood's not going to find out. He steps over Bob Johnny to shoot his one magic missile, and he shoots it at the big spider, and of course it hits, and does a decent damage. I think that's like 5 or 6 points of damage. Sinks into him, but the spider fights on. Meanwhile, Touchberry has been whacking and hitting at this thing, and hasn't managed to make a dent in it, hasn't managed to hit. Fire finds a space through the door, it takes a shot, but misses the big spider. She can't even see the second spider around the corner. Misses the first spider. Finally, Touchberry pulls back and stabs, and one great hit, and the spider's legs begin to twitch and curl under, and it is dead. Now, the second spider makes a morale check, as you do, and decides that discretion is the better part of valor, heads off into a passage behind the webs. Now, I said they were on fire, but they are not burning entirely away quickly. I mean, the fire was in a portion of the web. It's all still on fire, but there's plenty of it for the... Again, remembering rounds are 6 seconds long, so not much time has passed. There's enough that the spider can get through into the passage beyond, and there it waits, lurking in the dark, and they can see it, shrouded by the webs and the fire and smoke and everything else. They can see it, and I say the smell of the smoke is acrid. It burns as you breathe it in, and I'm toying with the idea of having it cause paralysis if they don't, save just breathing in the smoke, right? Because it's like, where is all that going to go? At that moment, Faux-Fire takes another shot. She says, I'm going to try to shoot that spider in the passageway. I say, okay, we'll do this, then we'll handle the smoke issue. She fires. Critical hit. Critical hit. Ooh, ouch. The second spider makes another morale check, and this time is out of there completely. Scuttles down the passage and disappears into the dark. And I say, the smoke is beginning to choke you, and they say, let's run, let's run, let's run. And I have to make a save. I give them a bit of a bonus on the save. Everyone makes it, thankfully. And they go back into the small cave and back into the passage beyond, crawling out, waiting for the smoke to dissipate. All right. How long are you going to wait? Well, 5-10 minutes, something like that. I don't know. How long is it going to take? And you peek in every once in a while. You poke your head in. The smoke does seem to be dissipating. There is a source of fresh air close by, so it doesn't seem to be too choking in here anymore. I don't want them to huddle. I really don't want them to leave and go back through the pass. So they're kind of holding me hostage. So eventually the smoke dissipates and they go back in and they discover the webs have pretty much all burned out. All right. Now, I say there is another passage. As you enter the room, you can see that there is another passage which leads back the way the first passage came, and they can see it on the tiles on the board. And they say, oh no, not going that way. That's going to go back to the Wraith room. The Wraith will kill us. The Wraith isn't going to kill you. Oh. Anyway, so they don't want to go that way. Neither do they search the room. I said that the floor in here is littered. So there's bones. There's old, they don't search the room at all. They look for nothing, which is, there was some treasure in here. Not a lot, but there was some treasure in here. No, not looking for it. Let's just leave. Okay, fine. You can now access the passage beyond. The webs are burned away. They go down the passage beyond. Now, in this case, they put Faux-Fire in front, not looking for traps, but because she now has the highest number of hit points. So she goes first, leading them through, and they come to the end. It's not a long passage, and there, in another small cave, lurks the second spider. It has been nursing its wounds, thinking of revenge, and as they come into view, out it jumps at Faux-Fire. We roll initiative. Faux-Fire gets it and gets off a shot, close range, so it doesn't hit. There's a bit of a penalty, trying to shoot close range, and she didn't roll very well anyway. But she tries to get off a shot, misses. Bob Johnny, from the back, casts magic missile, and 3 missiles come swooping through and around the other 3 over their heads and slam into the spider, and that's the kill shot. Down it goes. At this point, Bob Johnny decides he's going to chop the spider up into dust. So he spends a good amount of time smacking this thing. I say there is a cave entrance here. It's a little bit of a passage and it heads out, but you can see light outside, but it is clearly nearly evening at this point. They decide we're just going to stay here in this little cave with the dust that Bob Johnny has chopped the spider into. We're going to stay here for the rest of the evening. I should note also that from all of this, Fleetwood has taken another rather grisly, dangerous souvenir. With gloves on, he got a bit of the webbing and wrapped it up and put it in a pouch. So what he plans to do with that, I don't know. He doesn't know that it eventually wears off, so probably by the time he goes to use it, it'll no longer be any good, but anyway. He's collected his own souvenir. They bed down in this cave, and that is where they will spend the night, with horrors behind them and the unknown in front of them.